Is it finally time to start buying the dip on AMD after this massive sell-off? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to cover some of the technical analysis, and then we'll touch on the fundamentals, and then we'll also go over some analyst expectations when it comes to future growth and estimated price targets, and then also whether or not there's any insiders buying. So let's jump right into it. All right, so first we're going to take a look at the technicals, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. There's no way to sugarcoat this. They look like crap. And if you are trading specifically off technicals, then I'll just cut to the chase. Now is not the right time to buy. But with that being said, there's a few things that we can keep our eyes on to where if this specific thing happens, then it may be a perfect time to enter. All right, so taking a look at AMD, you can see, ever since March when we peaked at 227, this stock has been on a steady downtrend, okay? I mean, it literally just sold off like a falling knife, and it's just been a bloodbath, let's be honest. I mean, we broke through the support like it was nothing and then dropped down to the moving average, and you can see previously that we've bounced off of the 200 moving average before. Patterns tend to repeat themselves. They don't always have to, but obviously we did bounce, looked like we were going to recover, and then even here, we came back up to this resistance and then had a major sell-offs from there. I mean, we got rejected hardcore. And then what happens? And then we come back up, all right, and we retest this previous support, right, which comes resistance, and we got rejected again, all right? And then we broke out of here, and I like to call this like a fake out breakout, okay? So we pretty much broke back out above the 200 moving average, which is typically bullish, but it was more of a fake out, and then we've been stuck in this channel ever since, all right? And just to give you an idea, okay, this channel has been going on for about 130 days. So looking on the weekly, all right, we can see that we have actually broken below the 200 moving average on the weekly before, and then we've bounced off this trend line twice, and then we rallied massively, okay? And so if things repeat, there is a chance that we could bounce soon, all right? But I also did draw another support line. And I'm thinking worst case scenario, if we get stuck in this channel, then we're probably going to see $100. However, if we can break out of this channel, then I believe that this would be a great buying opportunity. That's because you can see clearly, looking at the 4-hour time frame, that we've been stuck in this channel, all right? And we kind of come up and we test the 200 moving average, but we always get rejected. We always get rejected. And guess what? We're right at that trend line again, okay? So if we can break out of this channel above the 200 moving average and hold, then I believe that there's a reversal coming. And so what I like to do sometimes is just kind of go back and look at previous, patterns that are happening. And, this is pretty common where, we're above the 200 moving average. Things are pretty bullish, right? We get below, looks kind of negative. But as soon as we break back above, we hold, like I'm mentioning, right? We rally up, right? And then we stay above the 200. And look, we kind of pop below there, right? We can't get past it. We can't get past it. We have a fake out breakout, and then it fall back down, right? But then we pop up here, we hold above, and then what happens? I mean, we just rally massively, okay? So again, looking at the technicals, if we can break back above the 200 moving average and hold, so probably hold above like the 120 level, then I think we're looking for some upward movement in my opinion. And again, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only and just my opinion. All right, so that's a breakdown of the technicals and shorts. So now let's jump into the fundamentals. All right, so I'm going to keep this super simple. Looking at the annual net income, you can see that in 2022 and 2023, we kind of had a downturn. But with all the data centers that are coming out and all the new investments that they've made, there is a lot of potential in this company now. And you can see here in 2024, we're starting to curl back around and make an upward move, okay? Total revenue, you can see that just is consistently growing, which we love to see year over year. Operating income, kind of the same story as the net income. All right, we kind of bottomed here in 2023, and now we're making a recovery. All right, and then taking a quick look at the balance sheet. The balance sheet looks pretty pristine. The main thing here is that you just don't want to see a lot of liabilities, and they don't. AMD has almost 70% assets compared to 11% liabilities. Okay, so that is a good ratio nonetheless. So in terms of the balance sheet, things have really just been looking better as time has been going on. Yeah. All right, so now moving on to some of the analyst price targets. I want to make this really clear when we're looking at analyst price targets. Okay, we're not trading solely off of these, but it does show that analysts are either, bullish or bearish on a stock. And again, these price targets are for a year out. And if you're looking to make a short-term profit on AMD, obviously now might not be the best time to buy. But let's jump into the price targets. And you can see here that there's 49 analysts covering the stock. And that's a lot of analysts covering the stock, meaning it's a pretty popular stock. Not to mention, when you have a lot of analysts covering a stock and you're using their estimates and their price targets, you have a bigger sample size. All right, to where if you just have, let's say, 2 analysts and, they both say the stock is bullish, well, you're not really getting both sides of the story. Where here you have 49 top-rated analysts looking at a stock, all right, and estimating what they feel the company will be worth a year from now. With that being said, with 49 people covering the stock, the low estimate on the street is $90. All right, and I've found, looking at this, that might be 1 analyst, maybe 2 analysts that have a price target that low. But other than that, we're really going to take a look at like the average. All right, 148 is the average, and AMD is currently trading at 114. And when I'm looking to make an investment, I want to look at what my risk to reward is. Okay, and just based off of this, based off of the technicals that I showed you guys, thinking that 100 would be the lowest I could possibly see this thing going. If it goes any lower, in my opinion, I just think it's a screaming buy. But with that being said, it just feels like there's more upside than there is downside. And that's something that I like to see when I'm looking to get into a position. So let's just take a look at it real quick. That is from its current levels. If we made it up to 148, okay, that is about a 30% return. Not too bad if that happens within a year. Now, AMD is super volatile. Let's not get this twisted at all. It could literally shoot up 20, 30% in a week or two and then just give it all back. But keeping that in mind, again, looking at the technicals, let's say we do break out of this channel and you're looking for more of a short-term trade and you're not planning on holding this for the long term, I would look to exit probably around this 142 level, all right where the moving average is. We get rejected off of there previously. And there's a good bit of, past support there, which becomes new resistance when the stock gets up there. So again, this is only if you're looking for a short-term trade. But moving on, I wanted to go over some of the analyst estimates. This is important because we can see based off the income statement that AMD is starting to make a recovery. So the next thing I want to look at is whether or not the analysts feel that AMD is going to continue to grow. All right, so, we can see, again, looking at the analyst estimates, here's a small little chart, and you can see, if you're a visual person, it's just a steady uptrend, and that's what we want to see. But we go down here to the numbers, all right, and the revenue estimates is 29%, 27%, 23%, 20%, and that's quarter over quarter. That's pretty decent growth, all right? That's not NVIDIA numbers by any means. We're not growing at 100%, 200% like some people are expecting AMD to do, but let's not get it twisted. Growing a company at 20 to 30% a year, that's pretty good. And not to mention, that's sustainable. And that's the one thing I want to mention here too, right? Is these estimates aren't astronomical, okay? Like, again, NVIDIA, I think estimates are like 100%, 90%, like crazy numbers, right? It's hard to maintain that. And once NVIDIA, starts seeing lower growth rates, you probably see a pullback in the stock. Where AMD, I feel that most of the, negative sentiment has been priced in. And if AMD grows anywhere near these estimates, again, I think if you're a long-term investor, this is a pretty good time to get into AMD. All right, so also looking at the earnings per share or the EPS trend, you can see again, quarter over quarter, they're expecting this to increase. And you see a huge jump here. Now, let's just keep this in mind, and obviously these are all estimates, but again, we have 49 analysts giving these expectations, all right, and they're estimates of the company, Not to mention, Lisa Su is an amazing leader, and she mentioned in the earnings call that she sees this company growing tens of billions of dollars. Okay, you know, she didn't give any exact numbers, but that's a pretty big number, and that shows how optimistic she is of the company. Not to mention, she took this company from almost failing, okay, to where it's at now, which is just incredible in itself. The last thing I wanted to touch on is whether or not there are any insiders buying, because this is typically a pretty bullish sign if an insider or multiple insiders start buying the stock, because they probably know something we don't. So taking a look here, all right, this is a Barron's article, right? And I don't know if this is true or not, but this blew my mind when I saw this. It says that AMD just saw its first insider buy in 12 years. That is insane. All right, so now the question that we have all been waiting for is whether or not AMD is a buy right now, okay? In my opinion, all right, and again, this is not financial advice. I believe if you're a long-term investor, AMD is a screaming buy at these levels. And if it keeps falling, I'd keep buying, honestly. But with that being said, if you are more of a day trader, swing trader, technical trader, right, then I don't think now is quite the right time. And that's just because based off the technicals, it still looks pretty bad. And again, if you're not willing to, get into the position and start dollar cost averaging, and you just want to get in and make money right away, then I recommend waiting. But again, if you're a long-term investor, I think this is a perfect time to start dollar cost averaging. I'm not saying go all in on AMD right now, but buy some shares now, buy some next week, the week after that, and just keep, dollar cost averaging. And in my opinion, if we're looking at a 3 to 5 year outlook, you're going to look back and be like, wow, AMD was a steal at these prices. But again, if you are a short-term trader and you're just looking to get in and start making money right away, in that scenario, I would wait for confirmation. And confirmation, again, in this scenario is going to be a break above this trend line. Ideally, you want to get a break above this 200 moving average and then a hold above it, okay? A break, it closes above it, all right, and holds. That would be a good time to get in. And then if you really want to manage your risk, I'd put a stop loss right back under the new support that it makes. So let's say it comes up here and it holds, all right, you take a position, and then you could just put a stop loss right back under there, just in case you get, something like a fake out breakout again, where it goes up and then, closes above, but then continues to sell off afterwards. But that's all I have for you guys in this one. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.